Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another ride video. Today, we're going to talk about, I think, one of the most important skills I've learned over the course of my life. And we're going to ride one of our favorite road routes in all of Girona. It's not very long, it's not very big, but it's a classic for us. It's super scenic, not too far from town, and it's just awesome. Today's bike, I am on the Blackheart all-road aluminum with pogies. That's right, it's cold. I think the high for today is supposed to be 50, and it's quite windy as well, so definitely on the chilly side. If you guys are keeping score, these pogies are by Jack Sachs, based out of Richmond, giving them a go this season. Okay, one thing we absolutely love about this ride is that it's like a bicycle roller coaster. There's so many of these like upsy downsies, a couple of steep pitches. It gets into the mid to upper teens in parts, but it's literally like a roller coaster ride of a bike ride. So first off, thanks for the great response on kind of my depressed birthday ride vid. It was really off the cuff, and it was a format that I'd been considering doing, but I didn't know what the interest would be. But I think I'm going to commit to at least as many rides there are in our guide. Okay, on to the philosophical part. I think probably one of the most important skills or characteristics that I've picked up over the years is being good at being bad. Do you know what I mean? I feel like in society, especially in the States, there's an expectation that you've got to be good at everything and be good like from the get-go, so you're like a prodigy or something. And that's just not the case. I feel like there's so many things that people think I'm good at now, which I absolutely sucked at in the very beginning. I love this part, full of these little downhills. And one thing about Spain and Catalonia, hola, buen dia, is there's just always people walking everywhere. Very active country. We'll be on like some random small dirt road and think we're by ourselves, and all of a sudden, boom, hikers, or just like people walking their dogs. Bananas. So the reason why this topic popped up in my head is because I started getting into something recently which I'm, kind of okay at, but generally pretty bad at. And I'm actually doing my first tournament in said thing tomorrow, which should be Saturday. And that's table tennis, ping pong, tennis taula in Catalan. And in the process of getting into it, it's really stirred up, all sorts of emotions that one would have. Like, I should be better than this already, even though I just started. Hola, buenas. What if people are judging me? To be an absolute failure at this. Again, completely unrealistic kind of expectations, because everyone starts from the beginning at some point. So attending the table tennis club classes twice a week, it's just really humbling. It's also like a good place for me to exercise this skill of being okay with sucking and acknowledging that it's part of the learning process. I forget who said it. It's a well-known platitude, but it's that there's no failure, only feedback. And that's a good way to frame it. If you're a fan of the Stoics, then you know that we get these external inputs that actually have no value or meaning, and we assign those things value or meaning. All that to say, it's perfectly cool to recognize that, but oftentimes, I don't know about you, in the moment, it's hard not to assign some kind of value or meaning to it. So here's a little steep pitch here. I think it gets up to 14%. But look at these roads. I mean, this part really reminds me of Central Coast of California, which is where we fell in love with cycling. So parts reminiscent of that, but with far less people. So love it. I think to go along with this framing, one other kind of characteristic I have, personality flaw, is I have a real obsessive personality, guys. I don't know if you've noticed this. When I get into something, I get into something. Laura's been slowly moving our website over to a different host, and that means reformatting a lot of the pages that are broken. And in the process, she's rereading some of these posts from, I don't know, 15 years ago when we were on tour. And she told me about a blog post she was working on. And it was about when, this is in the middle of a cross-country tour, I decided to take a fly fishing class. And I think the post starts out as, I have an obsessive personality. And it's still true. So a good example is the whole fishing thing. We were biking through all these places with lakes and rivers, and I'm not much of a swimmer, but I wanted a way to interact with the water. And fishing just seemed like kind of a fun way to do it. It's partially useful because you can, in theory, catch your food. But it was just interesting way to pass time. And I was absolutely terrible at it. But I took that initial class. It gave me enough knowledge to be dangerous and get my line stuck in a tree or a bush. But with my kind of obsessive personality and my enthusiasm, it just pushed me through a kind of ugly fumbling stage. When you're kind of dancing with two left feet, trying to learn the mechanics of a new skill, and just that kind of enthusiasm for it it puts a little protective bubble around your ego, because you're so stoked to do it, to learn it, that for at least a couple months you stop judging yourself. You just allow yourself to experiment and grow and figure things out. And come on, guys, this descent is awesome. Love this route. Sorry, distracted. Even though it's cold and windy, still feel really lucky to be able to ride something like this. So much fun. Whee! So like with fishing, I'm experiencing that same protective enthusiasm bubble around table tennis, where I love nerding out about the different paddle materials, different types of rubbers and sponges that they use on the table tennis rubbers, and then learning about the strokes, how to serve, deception in the serve, how to read spin and apply the appropriate counter spin. House out here in the country. So I think what I love about table tennis is that, or anything actually, like fishing, whatever, on the surface it seems really simple. Throw a line out, catch a fish, hit the ball back and forth. But once you delve into the details, it's like this whole secret world of language, and yeah, so fascinating. Like table tennis in particular, it's almost like high-speed chess, you know? Because if someone serves you like heavy underspin, there's only a couple ways to respond to it and get the ball back over. And you have to make these decisions really quickly and react appropriately really quickly. And it's just so, that's the part I dig. It's like the whole meta. Woo! Love this route. And it was a very kind of similar experience with fishing, whereas like the nominal task was to catch a fish. But the part that I found the most satisfaction out of it was, learning how to tie flies, learning about, the rods, how they flex, different material, bamboo versus graphite, slow versus fast rods, weight forward lines, straight lines, Skagit lines. But beyond the gear, there's this whole skill of like reading the water, like knowing where a fish will be, because they're not randomly distributed. Whew. There's that saying that 90% of the fish are in 10% of the water, and it's your job to find that 10%. 11%. 10%. Speaking of 10%, a lot of that comes down to, looking at seams in the water, eddies, water flows in front of, behind large rocks. In a lot of ways, it's kind of like reading spin on a table tennis ball. Granted, you have a lot more time. But a good example of this is, when I first started getting into fishing, I tromp out into the water and cast out as far as I could because I thought that's where the fish were. And I think that's kind of a natural assumption, lots of water, lots of fish, deep water, big fish. But at least in terms of trout fishing, oftentimes the fish hold at the bank because they don't have to fight the current as hard. Fish are kind of lazy creatures, or rather efficient creatures. They don't want to burn any more calories than they have to stay alive. So what you're looking for is that softer water where there's a fast part of the river and a slow part where they meet. That's the ideal place, because a fish can kind of chill in the slower part, wait for food to come by, and if they sense a predator, they can just move into the faster current and like peace out, And in the river, usually the faster current's in the center, and the softer water, because of the bank and rocks nearby or something, or underbank, is actually at the edges. So not where I was casting. It's literally stepping on fish to cast to nothing. Quick downhill here. So what's cool about this part outside Torona is there's like just a fun network of roads, and this loop is actually a figure eight, so you can ride it in different ways. This is just kind of our preferred way, because when you descend into Canet, blustery, whoa. you've just got the most amazing view of this old medieval church. I mean, it's framed perfectly by these trees on either side. I've taken lots of pictures of it and tried to paint it, but it just looks so fake. It's like too perfectly framed. I'll put up a picture of it just so you can see what I mean. So I see a lot of cyclists come up Canet on the way up to ride Roca Corba or something, but I feel like the descent and the view is better in the other direction. There's also all these cool like farmhouses, Macias, Spanish estates. This one on the right here gets used by Trek Travel on occasion. Absolutely beautiful property, I bet. Oh my God, they've got a ping pong table. Holy smokes. Well. Anyways, we'll ride here sometimes and there's a Trek Travel van there. Another thing we love about this ride is coming back into town. There used to be, speaking in past tense now, an amazing Thai food truck. Literally my favorite place to eat in all of Girona. And it's run by this Thai woman and Catalan guy. It's the most charming space. They decided to close it up a couple months ago, which totally bummed about. I think that's actually what added to my birthday depression. Was I was really looking forward to a birthday lunch there. Anyways, I think they've got other plans, like maybe meals to go or catering, but man, it was just such a great place to end this ride. Whew. Oh my God, so windy. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I don't know how much of the wind is coming through, but it's pretty blustery. Another cool thing you'll pass is this weird property here on the right. And sometimes they have exotic animals. So like peacocks, kangaroo or a wallaby, just some random ass animals. Okay, so let's talk bikes for a second. I'm really enjoying the Blackheart Allroad. It's probably like the riding geometry is super fun and playful. The fit geometry, I wish there was a little bit more stack. I think I might swap out these bars to the kitchen sink bars eventually, which adds some rise, and that'll make the bike a little bit more comfortable for me. But in terms of how it handles, it's great. Climbs really well, you know, responsive but not twitchy, I would say, still like fairly controllable. And I love that it can take bigger size tires, you know? I think these are 700 by 40s at the moment. But previously I was running it with 650Bs by 50, or by 48 rather. And it rode great in that configuration as well. I think my favorite thing in terms of like the geometry and maybe a little bit of the material is that it's just a really responsive climber. Like you stand on the pedals, it goes. You know, part of that's the short chainstay, part of that is probably, you know, the stiffness of the material maybe. It just feels like a really like tight bike, which is nice. And I also like that you can get that sensation without going all carbon. I've ridden and owned carbon bikes in the past, and they're super fun to ride, don't get me wrong, but you know, I tend to beat up my bikes and I just want a little bit more, I don't know, kind of peace of mind that if it falls over, it's just not going to crack or dent, catastrophically that is. So back to the topic, I think another thing that, all right, so another good example of like being okay with being terrible is definitely this YouTube channel. I mean, prior to this, I worked as a photographer, so it's always pretty proficient at the technical skills. But this whole like being in front of the camera, presenting, telling a story, trying to speak coherently does not come natural to me. This was definitely a learned skill over many, many years, over 1,600 videos. Like, I really envy the people that just have the gift of gab and can go on and on and on, make amazing points, and also sound coherent the entire time. I think that's something I strive to do. And to be fair, I've definitely improved, but it is not an innate skill. Speaking of places to eat, that little building over there during the summer, Cangenette, also has a cool food truck, which we have never gone to. Usually because they're open during the summer and it's just really hot and hilly to get here for lunch. I mean, one thing I've come to accept about this YouTube channel over the years is that I'll probably likely never be like a huge channel. That success for us will look like something very different than, let's say, success for, I don't know, like Assessed Bike Hacks, or like a Lone Ranger, or a GCN, or a Mr. Beast. I'll probably never make those numbers because we don't really kind of swing for the fences in terms of viral videos. That's just not my personality. And I feel like so much of YouTube encourages this striving for like virality as a metric of success. Like, I would rather have 20,000 really engaged viewers than like 1 million viewers that that bail after a minute, don't ever come back, and don't really care, but are there because I'm doing some stupid stunt or something. To me, I feel like in terms of staying power, longevity, and being true to yourself, those are the things that I value more. I guess it would be great if it could fulfill both things, but I feel like my heart of hearts, I just want to make good, solid, helpful, informative videos. I don't want to do stupid challenges. I don't want to I wheelied across Spain or something, or just some kind of stunting for the sake of attention. That's just not who I am. I'd rather be known to fewer people as someone that actually can help provide value in some way other than just cheap laughs or sideshow entertainment. Of course, there's no money in that, or not big money. And there's a reason why people gravitate towards extremes, either extreme stunting or the athlete's extreme performance. That's where I think brands, advertisers feel like they get the most eyeballs, which is probably true. But I feel like in terms of the value that person is giving to the audience, maybe not necessarily true. So YouTube definitely one of those things where, maybe this is as good as it gets, and I should be okay with this. I'd like it to pay a little bit better, to be honest. Far worse jobs out there than doing this. Okay, so this is a super cute cluster of little homes that have been done up. I like to call this kitty corner because during the summer months when I ride this in the morning, there's always a ton of little like feral kittens running around. I always thought it'd be fun to start a Instagram account called Cat Alonia. I just showcased little cats that we encounter on the bike ride. Almost to the downhill. I really enjoy this route, and just a beautiful day. Should give you guys an update on these pogies. Super warm, even with just wool gloves. Entry is pretty easy. I know that freaks out a lot of people. I feel like in a panic situation, you could just grab over the top as well. They're flexible enough for that. These are supposed to be designed to work with both drops and flat bars. It does okay. I feel like in terms of, I feel like it gets the job done. I think the Bike Iowa ones have more strapping attachment points, but this is still like a pretty good option here. Okay, getting to our Snickers break point. Okay, so here's an actual look at the bike. The wheels are these Hunt 40 CGRs, and the tires are these Schwalbe G1 RS Pro. And I feel like they're a really good match. Like it doesn't get too bulbous. Wheels are pretty nice. They're super light. Set up instantly with an air chamber, so no problem there. I'm still running the Paul cranks in 160. So these are square taper, but I'm using this cool little doohickey from Strayer Cycles, which turns a T47 into a BSA. And so I've got square taper bottom bracket in there in the T47 bike. My drone shifter still shifting nice and crisp. I'm gonna probably move this over to the Sklar and do a comparison between this and the Dior derailleur, just to see if there is like an actual shifting difference in terms of performance, because this just seems to shift like so cleanly and just get into gear really well. 1151 cassette, and yeah, a lot of people asked about the chainring, just a cheapy kind of alley chainring. I don't even know which, but it looks cool, and it hasn't broken yet, so that's a plus. Try not to freeze too much on this descent. Probably the thing that's getting the coldest is actually my feet. So I'm rocking the Surya / John Luke minimalist barefoot bike packing shoes, and I think this might be a little bit too cold for them. Ilya at Surya Bikepacking did tell me it was more of a warm weather shoe, and that is true. That does put me in the pickle of trying to find a shoe to ride with during the winter, since my Giros are kind of out of commission, and my Blundstones are just a little bit heavier than I would like, so we'll see. Search is on. Another little beautiful structure here, and this one's for sale. we can't afford it. But if you want to invest in a pathless pedaled bike retreat out here, we're all ears. We'll collab. I gotta say, like, living in Montana, I pretty much gave up on road cycling just because, I mean, there are few through roads because it's kind of mountainous, and everyone drives them and they drive really fast, right? And while people did do road cycling, I just could not get on with the volume and especially the speed of the traffic. It's really the speed thing. It only takes one car to flatten you, right? And the cars there were, you know, going 80, 90, 100 miles per hour. F that. But moving here and riding this route specifically, I was like, whoa, you mean road cycling doesn't have to suck? And that really rekindled my interest in getting a more roadish style bike beyond just the gravel bikes that we have. So that's why a bike like the Fog Cutter, or even this one's like perfect for Girona. Hola, buen dia. Because you can do roadie rides like this and then hop on some dirt. It just makes perfect sense. All right, we're coming up to the very overly picturesque reveal of the medieval church I was telling you about. And hopefully you can hear me because it's hella windy and we're going downhill. Oh, my eyes are getting watery. I think the one thing that is a challenge with pogies is that it's hard to get into the drops at the moment, which is where I'd want to be for descent like this, but it is what it is. At least my hands aren't freezing. And bam, there it is. Gets me every single time. It's just like, it's just perfectly framed by these trees on either side and this winding road, and then the mountains in the background. I mean, come on, it's just bananas. Like, I've tried painting this scene and it looks way too perfect. It looks like a super cheesy, like Thomas Kinkade composition. When it's not, it's just how it is. All right, woo! Okay. Another thing I picked up recently where, you know, I had a little natural proclivity towards, but wasn't awesome at, is painting and drawing. Like, my dad's an artist, so grew up with art around the house, but I never really took it seriously until just a couple years ago. And in particular, drawing and painting portraits. There's something about portraits which just kind of fascinates me, to try to get a likeness of something. So I do think it's like the most unforgiving thing to paint. Like with a landscape with a tree, you know, you don't have to be super precise and it'll still look kind of like the thing. But with a face, it's just a game of like millimeters and you're trying to get, you know, the landmarks of the face in the right part. Super challenging. And I think it's the kind of challenge that makes it appealing. Which leads me to another thing I've always wanted to say or communicate, and I don't know how many people will end up watching this, but I feel like I get misunderstood as, you know, the party pace guy that never wants to do anything hard. And I think that's kind of a simple mischaracterization. It's just like with biking, you know, I want it to be fun. It's the one thing I want to put a silo around and try to protect just for funsies. Although I failed because I made it work also. But there are other aspects of my life where I wouldn't say I'm competitive, but I take things like a little bit more focused. So like the YouTube video creation, writing, At the moment, ping pong, table tennis is getting a little bit more serious for me, but still in a fun way. Like, I don't think I'll ever be great. And I always try to remind myself the reason I'm getting into it is it's just fun to like whack a ball. But there's a part of my brain that wants to satisfy getting better at the skill of it. You know, not necessarily to beat opponents, but just have like a really nice top spin shot, you know? Simple pleasures. Like for those that know me in IRL or know me for a while, like this is just who I am. I have like a really obsessive personality. I like to find new hobbies and skills, really dive deep, get into the minutia of them, build up a certain level of kind of competency. What happens is, there's a joy in getting good at that particular skill, but it also makes you see the world completely differently. And you can see how different, like unrelated things seem to connect. Like I was talking about ping pong and reading the spin. In some ways, it's a lot like fishing and reading the river. I feel like the deeper knowledge you have of different aspects of life, the more you can appreciate it, the more you can see the connections and the interrelatedness. There's this great quote, which I'm totally going to butcher, from Mark Twain. I don't even remember now which story it was from, but he was basically talking about learning how to be a riverboat captain. After a period, you gain some proficiency. There comes a moment when he never looks at the river the same. It's not just this peaceful, moving mass of water. That in it, he can see the hidden dangers in the currents. And in some ways, the simple beauty is lost. But I feel like you also gain a different appreciation and understanding of the same thing. Like for example, like whenever we go on a bike ride and we're going by a river, I'm always like mentally fishing it and thinking about, oh yeah, there'd be a fish there 100%. Or I'll watch someone cast and not judge them, but note how I would probably cast differently. But I think that's why I like it ultimately. These hobbies, these obsessions I pick up, a lot of them are never gonna make me any money. They're not gonna, they're not moving towards like the typical norms of achievement or success, but they enrich in how I see and interact with the world. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'd like to think it's a good thing because I do spend a fair amount of time and mental energy and some resources pursuing my weird obsessions, but it's fun. I mean, how else are you gonna finish up your days? Like slaving it away at a desk and buying stuff on Amazon all the time, although I do that a fair bit, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like as you get older, picking up hobbies in some ways seems kind of frivolous. Like you're not a serious adult if you pick up table tennis late in your life or something like that. There are officially approved old people activities and hobbies like home improvement and mowing the lawn. But at the end of it, I mean, not to be like a downer here, but we all die. Turns out, spoiler alert. And if you take the long view, doing something silly as ping pong or like making your perfect lawn it's about the same in the end. And what if, since we're all gonna die and not be able to take anything with us, it's about a wash. And you should just do the thing that helps you. You should just do the thing that lets you enjoy the time you have. I think I like that. You should remember that. I've got video proof when I get down in the dumps. And maybe just a little nugget of wisdom I should remember. Beautiful ride. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of this ride so far? And we have to do a little commerce to keep this thing going. So if you guys enjoy this video, kind of life ramblings, then kind of consider supporting the channel. Join us on Patreon, pick up a ride guide, shirt, some prints. Laura turned on the prints recently, where you figure out a way to deliver prints, at least in the US, from afar. So all those things help out, and gives me time and the opportunity to do videos like these if you guys enjoy them. To be honest, I'm kind of up in the fence about how I feel about these. I feel like I spill too much of my guts and overshare. The one upside is that it does make the ride go a little bit faster for me. I feel like I'm talking to someone, even though I'm talking to my action camera, which is kind of sad. It forces me to kind of articulate ideas, which I think is always a good thing. So Garmin tells me I'm running for an hour and a half, 1,400 feet of climbing, just a hair under 14 miles. I think this ride will finish under around 20, thereabouts. So not the longest ride, but damn if it ain't scenic and nice. Some good punchy climbs, some lovely rolling descents in the farm country like this. I mean, come on guys, check this out. So good. See the valley over there. This is the ride that, like I was mentioning when we did this, I was like, damn, I need to get me a road bike. It's just too good. We've got another variation of this ride, which is a little bit hillier, a little bit longer. But basically, like this part of, when you go out this part of town, there's just so many options for creating cool little loops. Once again, Laura just came out with the volume 1 of rides that we like to do. There's going to be subsequent volumes. Yeah, so Laura's going to make a volume 2 in the future. We've been doing a bunch of overnighters, mostly out to the coast over the last couple of years, trying to figure out our favorite destinations in the Costa Brava and how to get there from Girona, and some really chill and interesting gravel and paved routes. But that's probably another year-long project. But for now, if you're visiting Girona and don't want to have to climb Roca Corba to have a good time, or don't want to end up on someone's training route that takes a sea road, and just want nice, chill, easy to do in the first half of the day ride, so you can explore town, do other things, have a nice big lunch, and definitely check out the ride guide. Man, my legs feel so stiff in the cold. I think after this ride, I'm gonna go work on my forearm before the tournament tomorrow. But before you leave, let me know what you guys think of this format. I feel like it's kind of fitting, because it's one of those things where it might just be bad and no one is actually going to watch it. Maybe they like the first one, but you know, as a new format, it's kind of a dud. But in the spirit of at least the topic of this video, we're gonna give it a go. Maybe I'll do 2 more. We'll see. Depends on how this does, and if there's enough like positive feedback to do this again, then I've got all sorts of things. If there's things you want me to pontificate about, I was a literature major, focused on contemporary American lit, almost a classics minor, and the philosophy minor, so all sorts of nerdy things. If you want me to talk about something more bike specific and less like just pondering the big questions of life, let me know. If you want more bike things in the actual biking videos, let me know. But my goal is to do this as kind of a rolling podcast, you know? I feel like in some ways writing and talking, you know, it just opens up, it frees up the tongue and the mind. So there are ideas that come to me on a bike ride, and it's an interesting way to articulate them to you guys. Let me know what you think. Consider supporting the channel, joining us on Patreon. That is the best way to do it. It gives us a budget. You know, the most important thing the Patreon allows us to do is have time. It lets us experiment with different formats. It allows us to travel, you know, purchase parts, and let me work on parts without the pressure to constantly be making, you know, videos for money all the time. And it's just nice, like, headspace. So thanks again, and as always, keep the supple side down.